First of all, isn't it beautiful? Bonjour, darling. Today I'm coming back to you after NaNoWriMo with all the books I read in the month of November. As you can guess, since I was writing, and yes, I finished the draft, I finished the 4 short stories. Some of them I posted on my website in French. I actually posted 2 of the 4 I wrote already. If you read French, you can go check that out. And I also recently posted a short story that I made that won a contest for Daniel's Green channel. Sadly, it was the last one. I actually won 2 times in a row, so I'm pretty happy because it means I'm getting better and better at writing English. So yeah, that was good. End of the rambling. I'm just going to show you the book I'm reading right now, which is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I've only read the first few pages, so I can't tell you yet if I like it, but seems like I'm going to. I read 3 books in November. The first one is a really short one. It's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by J.K. Rowling, aka Newt Scamander, or since it's a French edition, if you read it in French, Les Animaux Fantastiques, Vie et Habitat par J.K. Rowling et Norbert Dragoneau. Newt Scamander or Norbert Dragoneau being a fictional character that's supposed to have written the book. It was really short and it was interesting. It made me learn more about the law of the magical world, the wizarding world, as they say. I wish it had been longer, but it's a short book J.K. Rowling wrote for charity, so I won't spit on that. I won't spit on that. The second book I read in November, I actually read in less than 24 hours, and it was Vicious by V.E. Schwab, the first book in the evil duology. I'm not sure if evil is the name of the duology in the original English version. I'm going to check that right now. Yeah, in the English original version, the title of the series, the duology, is Villains, but in France they chose to call it evil. I don't know why they replaced one English word by another, especially since vilain is written almost the same, and so French people would have understood, but it's the choice they made. And they also made the choice to do this beautiful cover. I love it so much. Alright, so as I said, I read it in 2 days, in less than 24 hours. I just slept in between. What is it about? It's about Eli and Victor that go to university, and through his research, Eli starts to understand that when you experience an imminent death thing, you know, when you die for a few minutes and then come back to life thanks to the doctors, you sometimes come back with supernatural abilities. You become an EO, extraordinary, and they acquire their powers. But the way when Victor acquires his powers, there is an accident, and it will transform both of them not into superheroes but into villains. And so it's the origin stories not of a hero or heroes but of a villain, and it's amazingly written. All the text is leading you to their encounter after 10 years. You know that really in the beginning. So Victor ends up in prison, Eli doesn't, and 10 years after, Victor gets out and he wants to go after Eli, and all the chapters really, as I said, lead to this last encounter. And it's really amazingly written. The characters, even though they are horrible, have good aspects to them, so you can relate. You really learn to love hating them. V.E. Schwab made them complex and really human, even though they have those abilities. So really a masterpiece. I gave it 5 stars out of 5. And for this one, I didn't even give it stars. It's just a short law dictionary, so yeah, but still loved it, still recommend it. And the third and last book I read was finally Rebecca. As I said in a previous video, when I tried to read Rebecca in English, I couldn't connect with the writing. It's a classic by Daphne du Maurier. Who was probably of French ascent, because du Maurier is really French sounding. But I bought it in the French translation, and I read the French translation in just a few days. I didn't have a lot of time in November, but I managed to read this book. The style is so flowery and it's really a classic. So in my edition, it's 632 pages. I think if it was written bigger and with a thicker paper, it would easily go the 800 pages mark. It's about a woman whose name we never learn, who is really young, like 19 if I'm not mistaken, and meets while working as a companion for an American old lady, meets a man, a 40 years old man who is really rich and owns a really well-known domain called Mondelez. They start to talk to each other, learn to love each other, and then end up married really fast. But that man had a previous wife, Rebecca was her name, and you read everything through the protagonist's eyes. You never learn her name, and when she goes to that house, she realizes that Rebecca was almost a goddess in the eyes of a lot of people, and she feels unable to feel the horrible hole that destroyed the life of her husband after he lost his first wife, and of the people that work in the house. It's a domestic thriller because you will discover throughout the book that maybe Rebecca's death is not what it seems. It's not, maybe, you know. I won't say more, except that there was a really beautiful adaptation by Hitchcock. So there's that. What do I have to say about that book? First, it was a really good book. The mystery was really well done. All the characters are so flawed, so unlikable, but like in Vicious, even though it's not the same period of time, it's not the same writing style, obviously it's not the same author, you learn how to love them for their wickedness. But the reason why I won't give it 5 stars, even though it's masterfully written, is that I had a lot of trouble with the main character, the woman whose name we never know. She is, I know she's young, but she lets people treat her in such horrible ways, and they are never confronted with what they've done to her. One of the characters tries to do something horrible to the protagonist, and she's a servant. And she never confronts her about that. She never tells anyone, and she keeps her in the house even though she did that horrible, horrible thing. Everyone treats her like she's dumb, and she never stands up for herself. Even in the last few chapters, when the truth emerges and she feels it affects her in a way that she feels more self-confident, even then she's like this weak little thing. And I know it's a novel of its time. It's set in a world, in times where women were seen as children for their entire lives, basically. It's just that sometimes I wanted to go inside the book and shake the protagonist to tell her, oh my god, but just stand up, you know, have some bones. So it was really frustrating. What kept me going was the mystery aspect of it, the thriller aspect of it, and the fact that I liked the bad characters so much. So yeah, 4 stars out of 5 because I couldn't click with the main protagonist. Also, I almost forgot I read another book in November because I wanted to forget that book. This book I'm giving, if I could, I would give it 0 stars, but I will give it 1. It's a French book and I'm not sure if it was translated into English. I couldn't find any info about that, so probably not, but for the French-speaking people that watch my channel, it's a really short novel by Pierre Bordage. And I'm going to spoil that book because I don't care. It was so horrible. I read it in a few hours and I ended it because it was so short and I gave it time to redeem itself, but it didn't. It's just 187 pages plus that little thing. Okay, what is it about? It's about Court, a man that comes from the future and ends up in the 21st century, and he meets a woman whose name is Jeanne, Joan, for English speakers, but since it's a French book, it's Jeanne. So it's a science fiction about a time traveler that meets a woman, and he's going after criminals that time traveled to avoid being captured. So the story in itself, the basic plot is interesting. That's why I received it in a book box, and that's why I wanted to read it. When I read the synopsis, I was like, yo, yeah, that means that seems really good. But Jeanne has a disease, a really rare disease that makes her incapable to sleep and is slowly killing her. She also suffers from trauma because she was molested as a child by a man. And she realizes that when she's near court, there is this sensation, this strange echo between them that starts healing her. So I was like, that's weird, but hey, science fiction, right? Up until she's perfectly cured of both her disease and her PTSD after being molested as a child by the court's magical penis. That's upsetting. No amount of penis will cure you from your PTSD. For the disease, okay, he's special, he comes from the future, he could have had a technology or something inside him that made her feel better about her disease and stuff. But no amount of sex will cure you from PTSD. And it's clearly said in that book that she's cured of her PTSD, that she feels like a woman again and everything, because not because of a special science fiction-y technology, but because she had sex with that man. She's cured, she feels better, everything is perfect, and she's going to have a child, and blah blah blah. Also, there was a scene that made me cringe from beginning to end, where first she starts masturbating next to Court while she thinks he's asleep in the same bed, and I think that's not okay from her part. And what is not okay from his part is that he wasn't sleeping but looked at her masturbating because she had her eyes closed while she was doing it. So the sex in this book is really bad. Penises don't cure you. You don't feel a completed and better woman after having been flooded with semen by a beautiful man. That's not how it works. At least the mystery aspect of it wasn't that bad, even though I had guessed a lot of it ahead of time. I can't with this book. I'm going to give it to someone or bring it to a library. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm keeping it at the moment, but yeah, I hated it. Magical penis. So yeah, those were the books I read in November. As you can see, I didn't continue The Hate You Give. I'm still, well, but after I've read that, and I think I could read anything, so maybe I'm going to try and finish The Hate You Give while reading also Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. It's the story of Simon. So he breaks up with his girlfriend. There is a magical monster, eating monster that wears his face, which is, well, bad. And Baz, his roommate, has disappeared. So yeah, that's it. It's a little bit like Harry Potter. It's in our world, but there is magic and there is a secret school in which he goes, but it's a little bit more mature because Harry Potter started as a middle grade, even though it got more mature when its readers grew up. Carry On is YA since the beginning, so it's a little bit more mature, and the cover is really beautiful too. So yeah. Maybe I will try and finish Thug, The Hate to Give while reading that. So yeah, those were the books I read in November, the books I'm planning to read in December, and I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of any of my new content, and tell me in the comments how you did with NaNoWriMo. I'm really curious about that. So yeah, as always, au revoir darling!